Are you ready to step back into your 60s, 70s, and 80s self, reliving those joyful moments in front of the TV, singing along to food commercial jingles? This video will transport you to when ads were fun, but fleeting. Picture this. You're a kid. You come in from the cold, your cheeks flushed, your nose stuffy, and there's Campbell's soup waiting to warm you up. That was Campbell's dream sold in their famous Mem Good commercials.
They're good. Campbell's chicken.
From chicken noodles to tomatoes, this jingle burrowed itself into the American consciousness for decades. My grandma sang this every time she opened a can of something. The commercials made you feel like a warm hug in a bowl could solve anything. You probably didn't know that the slogan was first used as far back as 1935. By the 1960s and 70s, it was everywhere. I remember Campbell's soup commercials where kids were enjoying noodles like they were having the best meal of their lives. And let's face it, if you were a kid in the 80s, it was the best and even better with a grilled cheese sandwich. The brilliance of good is how simple it is. Not a single spectacular scene, not a single scene that would require a special effects team. Just a bowl of soup and a catchy motto that would stick to your head. Campbell still makes soup, but the catchy tune no longer graces the radio. But admit it, if someone says, good, right now, you instantly taste chicken noodles or tomatoes. That's marketing magic. A commercial that simply can't be forgotten. A cable car with its bell ringing and going up a rather inclined street in San Francisco, and a happy singer is shouting, "Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat." Yes, this ad made a boxed rice mix seem like the most delicious thing in the world, which was just as good as a trip to California. My parents would prepare Rice-A-Roni for dinner at least thrice a week, and I believed that I was from the royal family. It was fancy rice, with seasoning to boot. The commercials portrayed beautiful families enjoying a treat of a meal when, in fact, it was only 20 minutes and a saucepan away. Well, do you know that Rice-A-Roni has an immigrant story that is worth telling? It was invented in the 1950s by a Canadian pasta company and an Armenian family recipe. By the 60s, the commercial jingle had become so associated with San Francisco that you couldn't listen to it without thinking of the Golden Gate Bridge. Today, the box exists, but the commercial jingle no longer does. Perhaps millennials don't even know what they are missing out on. But those of us who grew up humming the San Francisco treat see the truth. It wasn't just rice, it was fancy rice, the kind of rice that people who have a lot of money eat. And yes, it did taste better because of the jingle. What was wiggly, jiggly, and made kids feel like they were living the best life in the 60s? Jell-O gelatin. The commercials where people said, "You can't be a kid without it," made having dessert seem like a necessity. Jell-O was not only a dish, it was an event. Simply watching it bounce on the spoon before it was eaten was half the fun. My grandma loved making Jell-O, and she had molds for every occasion. Birthdays, holidays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Mondays, Wednesdays. I still recall how I used to look at those layers of neon color as if they were the most delicious pieces of cake. And let's not forget the ambitious recipes from that era. Jell-O salads with cottage cheese or, worse yet, tuna fish. The commercials were full of life with kids laughing while they ate their gelatin creations. Jell-O was so popular that it could even boast with stars. Bill Cosby became the face of Jell-O by the 70s, thus making it a pop icon. Today, while Jell-O is still a product that can be bought in a supermarket, the commercials with catchy tunes are no longer with us. But if you grew up with "You can't be a kid without it" echoing through your living room, you know the truth. Jell-O was not only a dessert, but it was a sensation. And yes, it still bounces happily, like a little kid's belly. Maypo commercials were just silly and fun, which is exactly what made them so great. Marky, a boy in an animated commercial who does not want to take his oatmeal, wakes up to the maple-flavored Maypo. What happens next? He screams like a baby, "I want my Maypo!" As if that is the ultimate goal in life.
I want my Maypo!
Children all over America participated in it, and parents either giggled or cringed. My mom once put Maypo on my bowl of oatmeal when I refused to take my meal as a kid. It worked. I mean, who can resist maple-flavored mush? Maypo was the breakfast cereal that was popular in the 60s as a cereal children enjoyed while parents saw it as a healthy cereal for the family. The advertisements were prophetic in a way that used humor and animation to cement the brand into the public's consciousness. What you probably did not know is that Maypo was created in 1953 by the Maltex Corporation. They introduced maple sugar to the cereal range and made breakfast out of an ordinary meal into something special. Sadly, Maypo was off the air by the 80s, but the commercials remain with anyone who watched Saturday morning cartoons. This simple slogan, "I want my Maypo," became as famous as the cereal itself. Today, if you are lucky enough to get your hands on a box, please do not shout out loud about it. No, wait, shout it. It's the Maypo way. It's time to discuss the fruit that has an entire song dedicated to it. Chiquita bananas weren't just fruit. They were stars, thanks to their Carmen Miranda-inspired jingle.
Chiquita banana, and I've come to say bananas have to ripen in a certain way.
I'm Chiquita banana, and I've come to say, don't deny it. You just sang that in your head. The adverts included a cartoon banana with a hat filled with other fruits to show us how to handle and consume bananas. Do not store them in the refrigerator, they advised. Let them ripen just right. It was like having a chef with a Broadway voice cook for me and explain what he was doing at the same time. Chiquita first introduced this tropical spectacle in 1944, and the campaign was so good that the song was played on the radio. The banana mascot had thus evolved into an American symbol by the 60s. My family adopted all of those lessons. No bananas in the fridge at any given time. The beauty of these ads was that they made the mundane and the prosaic look glamorous. Bananas became a luxury, entertaining, and a must-have in each breakfast. And who didn't want to join the chorus? Today's Chiquita logo is still in use, but the banana that sings is no more. However, for those of us who are old enough to remember this ad, there is always music playing in our heads when we are peeling a banana. Come on. You just ran your fingers over the skin of a banana to tell if it is ripe or not, right? Thanks, Chiquita. Elsie the cow was not just any mascot. She was the mascot.
Beauregard. Mom.
During the 60s, Borden's dairy products commercial made drinking milk and consuming cheese a family affair because of Elsie. Yes, a cartoon cow had more personality than half the television personalities of her generation. I recall seeing Elsie on everything from the milk cartons to cheese wrappings when I was at my grandma's. The commercials depicted her as a jovial, humorous cow with an ability to make people crave dairy products. Fun fact, Elsie first appeared in 1936 and was chosen as one of the greatest advertising characters of all time. Real quick, if you're loving this content as much as we loved making it, hit subscribe to stay connected and help us reach even more amazing folks like you. The ads were very family-oriented, and the portrayal of Elsie as the perfect mother who just so happened to be a cow was done in good taste. They made milk and cheese seem like something you could crave, which, let's face it, you can. Though Borden's is still in existence, Elsie is not the celebrity she used to be. But those old commercials? They're pure nostalgia gold. If you ever come across vintage Elsie merchandise, get it. It is a piece of advertising memorabilia. Now, every time I pour milk or slice cheese, it reminds me of Elsie the cow. She was not merely selling dairy, she was selling experiences. And let's be honest, dairy just tastes better when it comes with a side of cute cow imagery. Picture this: a hill, a rainbow of people with glasses full of Coke, and a tune so irresistible that it made the world think that a soda can bring everyone together. The Coca-Cola commercial that went on air in 1971, "I'd like to buy the world a Coke," was not just a commercial, but was a phenomenon.
I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company.
It's like the anthem for anybody who has ever drunk a Coke and then thought to himself, you know what this could do? It could solve world peace. The ad had a group of singers singing about harmony and happiness, all holding bottles of the soft drink. Fun fact, the song was so successful that it was released as a single and even reached the charts on the Billboard. My mom had it on vinyl, and I'm sure she still does, though I haven't seen it in years. Here's the kicker. It almost didn't happen. Rain nearly derailed the shoot in Italy, but when the sun was out, the impossible seemed possible. Coca-Cola got it right on the head with this one. They touched on something that is timeless. It makes me feel like I want to get a Coke, invite my friends, and sing about whatever. The jingle is no longer aired, but the message it sought to pass on to the public is timeless. Let's all just chill with a Coke. Is it even possible to drink soda if you don't hum this tune? You know the feeling, right? You have eaten to the point where you can barely look at the plate and think to yourself, why did I do this? Alka-Seltzer's, I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Oh, well, I heard that before.
Commercial was just the kind of appeal that cracked that nerve. It didn't just sell antacids, it made us laugh at our own gluttony. One of the ads was a man complaining about how much he ate while his wife looked at him from the side. Here came Alka-Seltzer, the effervescent remedy for the crime committed against the kitchen. The tagline became so famous that it became a part of the Pop Culture Hall of Fame. Well, my dad uses it to this very day during the Thanksgiving celebration. Were you aware that this particular campaign is considered to be one of the most effective in the history of advertising? It was first aired in 1972, and the company's sales of Alka-Seltzer multiplied 2 times. It turned into a phrase for overindulging in food and showed that nothing sells like comedy and relatability. Each time I come across those tiny effervescent tablets, this advert pops into my mind. It is a message of hope for the stomach. No matter how much pie one takes, there is always a possibility. Alka-Seltzer didn't just sell a product. It gave us a catchphrase for life's tastiest mistakes. If you have ever sung My Bologna Has a First Name, it's OSCAR, you have been the victim of one of the most effective examples of food jingle brainwashing.
My bologna has a first name. It's OSCAR.
This 1973 Oscar Mayer ad didn't just sell bologna. It made lunch meat the star of the sandwich. The commercial was of a cute little boy sitting on a dock with his sandwich and spelling the name of the brand like the alphabet. It was adorable, memorable, and, to be quite honest, brilliant. It is quite funny how a simple bologna can be so adorable. Fun fact, the jingle was composed in less than an hour, and then it became popular. Oscar Mayer even encouraged kids to sing it and made every lunchbox a stage to perform on. My cousins and I used to sing it like we were in a competition with American Idol. I must admit that even if you don't like processed meats, you have to appreciate this advert. It made bologna trendy, or as trendy as lunch meat can be. And let's not forget the second verse. My bologna has a second name. It's Mayer. It's funny and catchy. Today, it is just a reminder of the past that commercials were jingles and sandwiches were the norm. Every time I hear it, I find myself again in front of the refrigerator door, wanting a bologna sandwich. Sometimes you just feel that life is too much and all you want is a burger. The McDonald's "You Deserve a Break Today" commercial from the 70s made all of us feel like we could say, yeah, I've earned this.
You deserve a break today, yeah.
It wasn't just about fast food, it was about self-care with fries. In the commercial, people were smiling and eating McDonald's food after they had come from work. The jingle is catchy and hard to forget, like ketchup stuck on the fries. It convinced you that a Big Mac was the ultimate prize for growing up. Here's a fun nugget. This campaign assisted McDonald's in their change from being known as a quick meal place to becoming a family restaurant. The ads were so good that they have been remade several times, but there's no substitute for the first. Well, I must confess, each time I am at the drive-thru, I sing this song in my mind. It's practically Pavlovian. And to be quite frank, they were not entirely wrong. It's nice to be able to sink your teeth into a cheeseburger you didn't have to cook yourself after a long day at work. The campaign may be gone, but the message remains. Treat yourself. And if that treat happens to come with a Happy Meal toy, even better. Dr. Pepper is not just a soft drink, it is a way of life.
I'm a pepper, he's a pepper, she's a pepper. If you drink Dr. Pepper, you're a pepper too. Be a pepper, drink Dr. Pepper.
Back in the 70s, the Be a Pepper campaign informed us that if we drank Dr. Pepper, we were among the coolest of the fizzy-minded. Forget soda, this was a lifestyle choice. In the commercials, people were seen dancing, singing, and asserting, "I'm a pepper, he's a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?" It was like a musical about soda that people didn't realize they needed. Well, do you know that Dr. Pepper is the oldest major soft drink in America, which was first introduced in 1885? This campaign brought it back into the limelight with a new generation and repositioned it as the crazy cola cousin. My uncle still refers to himself as a pepper, and to be quite frank, me too. The beauty of the Be a Pepper advertisements was that they were so all-embracing. Anyone could be a pepper as long as they had a can in their hand. It was not only soda, it was pride. Today, the jingle resides in the free memory of anyone who has ever been exposed to it as a child. And every time I open a Dr. Pepper, I feel like I am in the most elite group of people out there. Here for being a pepper, because people who drink regular soda just don't understand. Let's talk about a mascot who stirred up both cravings and controversy, the Frito Bandito.
Ay, 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 ay. I am the Frito Bandito. Hey, I like Fritos corn chips, I love.
This corn chip mascot was created by Frito-Lay and first aired in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Of course, the ad's jingle is unforgettable. You're probably whistling it right now. But the Bandito's portrayal was stereotypically Latino, which caused at least some people to bat an eye back in the day. The commercials depicted the Frito Bandito stealing chips, and to be quite frank, those adverts made Fritos sound like the real thing, gold. If you are curious, yes, there were children joyfully singing, "Ay yi yi yi, I am the Frito Bandito." Fun fact, the character was voiced by Mel Blanc, the same man that gave voice to Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. This is shocking to consider now, but one of the most famous voice actors of all time was associated with such a contentious ad. By 1971, the Bandito was retired following complaints, but the spirit of the advert is one that shows how far advertising has come. Well, whatever was said, those commercials did their job. I now associate Fritos with that song every time. Perhaps it is best to leave the Bandito where he is, in the past where he should be. Let's face it, no commercial character was as extra as the Kool-Aid Man.
Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid, a 5-cent package makes 2 quarts of Kool-Aid, Kool-Aid.
Picture this. Children are just playing and having fun, and then, bam! As a promotional character, Kool-Aid Man breaks through the wall with the catchphrase, "Oh yeah!" It was crazy, somewhat scary, and amazing. The Kool-Aid Man first appeared in 1974, and his penchant for smashing through walls became a symbol of how much kids needed sugary red, blue, or purple beverages. I mean, who wouldn't want a giant anthropomorphic pitcher to save their mundane day? Here's a fun fact. The first Kool-Aid Man costume was so heavy that the actors who wore it could hardly walk. You'd think they were going to pass out from all the fruitiness of it all. And yes, this ad campaign was a success. People associated Kool-Aid with fun and destruction, of walls, of course, until they began to associate it with something much, much more sinister. To this day, every time I see a glass of Kool-Aid, my mind echoes, "Oh yeah." It's a phrase that is constantly stuck in people's heads. Whether you loved him or were afraid of him, Kool-Aid Man was one of the greatest advertising icons. It's great, just maybe don't let him near your drywall. Long before Happy Meals took over the fast food chain, there was Burger Chef's Fun Meal.
In wide America, you never can forget. You get more to like at Burger Chef.
In the early 70s, Burger Chef thought kids needed their own meal, which came with toys and bright packaging. It was a brilliant move, and honestly, McDonald's totally copied their homework. The Fun Meal was not only a meal, it was a spectacle. You would receive a burger, fries, and a drink, but the most important part was the toy. Whether it was a puzzle, a car, or a little figurine, kids couldn't help but rip into that box. The advertisements for Burger Chef were all about the fun, with children laughing and parents quietly relieved they don't have to cook anymore. And guess what? The Fun Meal was in operation for several years before McDonald's came up with the Happy Meal. It is like learning that your favorite band was only an imitation band. Unfortunately, Burger Chef could not compete with the other fast food companies and disappeared together with the Fun Meals. But those who grew up with it still have that feeling of opening that box and finding what was inside. Each time I look at the Happy Meal, I salute Burger Chef. Well, they may have disappeared, but they were the pioneers of fast food meals for children. If you ever come across an old Fun Meal toy, you should keep it because it is a relic of fast food history. If you've ever tried to grab all the marshmallows out of a cereal box, you can thank Lucky Charms for that.
That's me Lucky Charms! Delicious!
Introduced in the 1960s, this cereal became iconic not just for its colorful marshmallows, but for its mischievous leprechaun mascot and the unforgettable tagline, "They're magically delicious." The commercials depicted Lucky the leprechaun tricking children who were always attempting to grab his cereal. Seriously, Lucky had a point to be paranoid. These marshmallows are the actual gold. You probably never heard of them, but they are actually known as Marbits. It stands for Marshmallow Bits in case you have to know some trivia to share with your friends. This jingle was catchy and had a fun tune to it that made you want to pour a bowl and look for hearts, stars, and horseshoes. Over the years, they included new shapes such as rainbows and unicorns in the cereal to make it look new and interesting. Lucky Charms advertisements didn't just promote cereal, they advertised the possibility of following a rainbow and finding a pot of gold. Even today, it becomes embedded in my mind every time I find myself standing in front of the refrigerator's cereal aisle. Whether you were the child that gobbled up all the marshmallows or saved them for the end, Lucky Charms was not just a cereal, but much more. And yes, they're still magically delicious. Don't fight me on this. Is Michael Jackson performing a moonwalk on the stage in a Pepsi commercial? That was the cultural change of the 1980s. This 1984 commercial was the moment when Pepsi announced itself as the soft drink of the new generation. But
you're a whole new generation, you're dancing through the day, you're grabbing for the magic on the run.
Let's be real. Few people recall the soda as much as they recall the king of pop making every swallow an occasion. With the feel of a concert, the ad showed Jackson and his dancing skills to a tune reminiscent of Billie Jean. Yes, it was a commercial, but it was a mini music video that made Pepsi seem like the most awesome thing on the face of the earth. But this ad is also well known for an incident that occurred on the set when Michael Jackson's hair was burnt by pyrotechnics, literally meaning he was on fire. However, this was one of the most successful campaigns that were ever run in the history of politics. Pepsi sales rose, and Jackson was able to show that even a soft drink commercial could be artistic. It's a reminder of the days when adverts were not mere selling tools, but a cultural phenomenon. Pepsi hasn't stopped chasing the cool factor, but let's face it, no ad will ever walk into the annals of advertising history quite like this one. If you were a Pepsi consumer in the 1980s, you must have thought you were the coolest person on the planet and perhaps even slightly shimmering. 3 words. Where's the beef? It seems like if you didn't scream that at least once in the 80s, you were not really alive. This Wendy's commercial from 1984 remained popular due to an endearing...
Got the owner.
Hello? Where's the beef?
straight-talking grandmother named Clara Peller. The premise was simple. Clara, standing face-to-face with a giant, fluffy bun with a small patty inside, asked where the beef was. Her Harridan delivery was so funny that it became the anthem for every person feeling ripped off. It was not just an ad, it was a roast, pun intended, of competitors' small burgers. What is crazy is that Clara was not even an actress. She was discovered at 81 years old. Her shameless attitude made her a star overnight, and "Where's the beef?" became a catchphrase for t-shirts, buttons, and even politics. Yep, it was that big. This commercial increased Wendy's sales by 31%, and left no doubt as to where to go to get a burger that wasn't lacking in the meat department. Now, every time I get a burger, which is more of a bread than anything else, I can hear Clara in my ears. Wendy's has had other clever ads, but this one was the real deal of bottled lightning. This is evidence that sometimes all it takes is a little attitude and a whole lot of meat to create an advertising legend. If you didn't get to pop the Pillsbury Doughboy at least once in your mind, were you really a kid in America?
Delicious food! Let's eat!
The Pillsbury Doughboy, or Poppin' Fresh as he is known to his friends, started in 1965, and who doesn't remember the giggle, "Woohoo!" These commercials were pure magic. The Doughboy would jump out of a canister of dough, that is where his name came from, wearing that cute little chef hat, and with that baking seemed like the most cheerful thing in the world. What about the giggle then? It was a laugh of a man who never had a single bad day in his life, or so it seemed. The Doughboy was designed to be squishy and lovable, and fun fact, that poke sound his belly made was actually recorded by using a hot water bottle. You're welcome for that trivia gem. These ads ranged from crescent rolls to cinnamon rolls, and in some strange way, one wanted to bake even if one was a cooking disaster. Poppin' Fresh was the friendliest mascot Pillsbury could have ever come up with, and he made every kitchen warmer. Even now, the Doughboy's woohoo lives rent-free in my head whenever I bake anything. He might be old school, but he's the original king of cute food characters. Cereal commercials have always been a little strange, and the Cinnamon Toast Crunch commercials for the Taste You Can See campaign were no exception.
Feeling like cinnamon toast, feeling like cinnamon toast crunch, feeling like cinnamon.
Who needs subtlety when you can have animated squares to literally devour each other? Introduced in the early 1990s, this campaign made one thing clear. Cinnamon Toast Crunch was not merely any type of cereal to the fans. It was the one with the cinnamon swirls on it that you could almost taste without having to use your tongue. They had close-ups of sugary squares of cereal and cinnamon-coated ones that made every kid salivate and every parent cringe. The commercials were silly and quirky, with cereal squares that could speak and some ridiculous situations. Then it got weirder with the Cinnamojis, those naughty cereal pieces that, to be quite frank, were a little bit crazy. But hey, it worked. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal made it to the breakfast table. Let's not overlook the science. What the campaign made us realize is that food with visible flavor is in some way superior. One of the concepts that were introduced in the world of advertising and are still present to this day is the concept of taste you can see. Now, the commercials are still enjoyably strange, and watching them makes me want a big bowl of sugary comfort. Cinnamon Toast Crunch may be a step above the others, but it is still the best of the sweet cereals. I know. You're sitting here wondering where you can get your hands on some right now. Have you ever seen the groovy, cuddly character that endorsed Fruit Wrinkles a couple of decades ago? No? Well, you're not alone. This oddly memorable yet obscure snack was one of those commercial gems that disappeared into the snack food Bermuda Triangle. But let's not forget, Fruit Wrinkles were promoted with an odd character that resembled something out of a hallucination. He had a fruit-shaped, wrinkled face that was wobbly as if he was plugged into the 80s energy drink mania. If you still have no idea of who they are, do not worry, you are not alone. Fruit Wrinkles were simply a dried fruit snack that was trying to be too cool for school. The symbol was a shriveled fruit called Fruit Wrinkles, who assured that his brand is the one you want to take instead of the plain fruits. He was out of control, had a weird voice, and gave such slogans as, "Fruit Wrinkles, they're very good." Honestly, that tagline wasn't enough to keep the fruit ball rolling and to make people start eating healthy. The product failed, and the mascot eventually vanished into snack history, leaving us with one simple question. What were Fruit Wrinkles supposed to be in the first place? It was not like fruit leather, but rather like something you would get in a vending machine and not want to eat. Whenever I find strange snack characters on television today, I sometimes ponder whatever became of all the old fruit snacks that were part of the Fruit Wrinkles craze. Pop Rocks, the candy that caused a mini fireworks display in your mouth.
Pop Rocks says bang to the pipe. Pop Rocks.
It is still unclear whether it was the sugar or the pop that made this candy famous in the 80s. But one thing is certain, the President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, also loved it. Do you still recall Pop Rocks advertisements? They were just as wild as the candy itself. We all know the myth. If you eat Pop Rocks and drink soda, you're going to explode. But these commercials were 100% a marketing genius. It's very strange for people to taste something that explodes in their mouth. Pop Rocks were a revolution, not only because of their taste, but because they were the first candy that made sound, the sound of popping. You'd sit there with your popcorn watching a kid eat them, and then suddenly the camera pans in and you get to see the satisfaction that is the popping feeling in high definition. And no matter how many parents told you that it was a myth, you were still going to give it a shot. Children were fascinated by the Pop Rocks experience, and because of those advertisements, they would run out and buy a pack. Unfortunately, Pop Rocks went pop, as you might have guessed, and their glory days are gone, but not forgotten by children of the 80s. Seriously, who else had the urge to make their own popping sounds while eating candy? Maybe it's just me, but when it comes to sizzling sound effects, Sizzlean comes to mind. Oh my gosh, the bacon who? Applications, websites, and services have a new favorite word.
Home the bacon.
Think lean.
Bring home the sizzling.
Sizzlean was another of those pre-cooked bacon substitutes of the 80s that felt the need to tell you it was just as good, if not better, than bacon. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. The ad campaigns for Sizzlean were some of the most enthusiastic I have ever seen, complete with sizzling sound effects, the smell of cooked meat pervading the air, and some truly ridiculous slogans. The commercial declared, "Sizzlean, tenderloin bacon style, it's just like bacon, only better." In the commercials, they had people flipping it like it was a professional piece of equipment, and it produced the most loud, sizzling sounds that could have woken the dead. However, now let's be fair. Sizzlean was not exactly bacon, but it attempted to be so. It could be thrown into the microwave, and in no time, you'd have what resembled bacon minus the oil and the splatter. Although the convenience factor was a major, plus the taste was not as appealing as that of the actual bacon. Finally, Sizzlean was replaced by the real thing, and the campaign disappeared like the fat in the beef. But hey, for a minute there, it had all of us thinking that we could get almost the same taste without the bother. Rest in peace, Sizzlean. You will never be bacon, but you tried your best. For those of you who grew up with the 70s snacking craze, you would be familiar with Eagle Snacks. But what you might not remember is their unforgettable slogan,
Eagle chips are lots of fun. Come on, but please don't eat them on the run. Everybody, crispy, crunchy, there to savor. Let's go, the quintessential taste and flavor.
"Nobody makes them like Eagle." This snack brand was all about proving to you that they had the snacks people wanted. Eagle Snacks had it all from chips to peanuts and was convinced that their munchies were the best, and there was no other type of snack that one should consider. The programs were filled with funny and cheesy jingles with happy families enjoying the latest Eagle snack product with the catchphrase echoing in your head. These ads ensured that you knew that if you were not consuming Eagle Snacks, you were missing out on some other level of tastiness. The campaign was quite effective. Eagle Snacks showed us their crunchy, savory products in a way that made one think that they were indeed the snack champions. However, similar to many other snack brands of that era, Eagle could not remain a market leader for a long time. The competition increased, and the commercial empire was shattered, and so was the catchy slogan jingle. However, every time I take a bag of chips now, the song will be ringing in my ears all the time. For real. "Nobody makes them like Eagle" could have been the greatest snacking tagline that was never given the attention it deserved. If you feel like singing those old jingles after watching this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tell us in the comments which of these old commercials were your favorites back in the day.